ladies and gentlemen. Got him. To start off the pod. Got him. Welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast, your favorite sports podcast where two sports lovers sit on this couch and give their hot takes. Off the Dome. I am Redfish.
And I am Mustang.
And we will be steering this ship today as he gets a little bit of energy. Got to recharge the battery every now and then.
Gots to.
So, we've got a jam-packed pod for today. We'll talk about a lot of fun stuff. We're going to talk about the NBA Finals. We're going to talk about LSU baseball.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about LSU football.
Yeah.
Throw in one little Pels comment that I saw right before the pod started.
Okay.
And then we are going to throw in some fantasy football right there at the end.
My favorite.
So, we're going to have it all jam-packed today. Since today is the last episode, you'll be seeing this face. I was going to say beautiful face, but I was like,
Oh, wow.
it's kind of a stretch. So this is going to be the last time you're going to be seeing this face for over 2 months. So, Clown Car will be coming in soon and making his presence known. That
should be some fun times.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm sure there will be a lot of baseball talk while I'm gone.
Absolutely.
And before we get started on any actual content as far as sports go, we do want to say the giveaway.
Oh.
We talked about it on last episode, and talked about how to enter it. We've been tweeting it out. We've been putting it on Facebook, so we've been getting it out there. And of course, it's in partnership with our buddies, The Know. Gotta love The Know Network. Everything that's going on over there. Make sure to check them out on Facebook and Twitter if you haven't already. So if you're a part of the giveaway, obviously you already have. But if not, of course, follow them on Twitter at Be in the Know. The Know on Facebook as well as a website. And then check out all the pods that they have too. The Squeeze Pod is something they just started, a baseball pod, so that's really exciting. I know Clown Car is going to want to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it's really good content. Of course, got NOLA Flight and the gaming that they do over there, as well as Dave and Patty over at Who Effin' Knows. So tons of good stuff going on with the Know Network. Glad to be a part of it, and glad to be able to do this giveaway. So like we said, the way to enter the giveaway was to follow us on Twitter, follow Be in the Know on Twitter, as well as follow us on Facebook, as well as The Know on Facebook. So 4 accounts you had to follow. But we didn't want to have any insider trading type stuff, so nobody a part of the Know Network was eligible, just because we want to get it out to people who enjoy not only the Know content but Off the Dome and who have enjoyed it for a little bit. So we narrowed it down to a couple people. And I'm just going to I'm not going to say the names out loud. I don't want to give away any government secrets of names. So I'm going to flip a coin. I'm going to write it down so you can see who the two people are. We've got those two right there. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's going to be heads. That's going to be tails.
Got it.
Again, don't want to give away government secrets. Can't be giving out names on here of people who they're not going to see. So we're going to have Siri flip a coin. And then whoever the coin lands on will win the giveaway. Of course, we're going to post this on Facebook and Twitter after. So if said person is not currently watching, they will still know that they won it, and we'll set that up. So let's get Siri to flip a coin. Flip a coin. It is tails.
It's tails.
Therefore, the winner of the desktop cornhole set is Jonathan Lambert. Shout out to my boy, Jonathan Lambert. That is my cousin. So, is it family? Sure. But he also makes YouTube videos, so check him out, Living Lambo, Living space Lambeaux.
Oh, wow.
Spells it the right way.
Correct way.
So check out Living Lambo on Twitter. I know he has a Twitter. I know he has a Facebook. I know he has a YouTube. So check out Jonathan. He's going to be winning the desktop cornhole set. That'll be really cool for him. He has a lot of cool sports merch at his house, and I'm sure his little 5-year-old daughter will enjoy playing with his little cornhole set. So we'll make sure to get that to him, and we'll tweet it out. We'll put it on Facebook, and I'll even text him just to let him know he won. So congratulations, Jonathan. Happy for you. Happy for your new addition to your man cave.
Yeah. Put some use to that thing.
Yeah. Maybe bring it to a family function, and we can, toss some mini cornhole on a crawfish table or something. Bring it to Ashlyn's wedding next spring. How about that? But yeah, so that was the giveaway. We'll talk about it again at the end, just in case Jonathan tunes in between now and then. And then, of course, like I said, we'll post it on social media. But getting into some sports. Last night was Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. We had the Miami Heat taking on the Boston Celtics. And unfortunately, it was not my team that won.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, it wasn't your team that won. But not only that, it wasn't a very exciting game.
It was kind of gross.
It was kind of hard to watch because, the Heat, it was a good battle early, and then the Heat kind of slowly started to break away. And then out of halftime, they were up a good bit. I thought the Celtics were going to come out firing, and they didn't. And the Heat kind of just held on to that almost 20-point lead all game.
Yeah, me and Rebo Hustle got into a little bit of tussle in the group chat last night because not the second the game ended, but after the game ended, he's like, "Oh man, I can't wait to hear Bryce complain for a whole year that the Celtics only lost because of Jason Tatum." And I was like, "No, they didn't only lose because of Jason Tatum. The Heat deserved to win." And then he got mad that I said that. Like, he got mad that I didn't agree with the thing that he didn't agree with.
You didn't defend your team as well as he.
Yeah, like, I don't understand I don't know what he wanted me to do. I was very confused as to what Rebo Hustle wanted me to say there.
Clown Car
already throwing strays.
Obnoxious hot take out of Clown Car.
Dude, me and Clown Car have had this argument so many times. We had it in the middle of a B-dubs, and I was getting heated because he was saying names of players who were so bad, and he was like, "Better than Tatum. What has Tatum done?" And Clown Car just said not even top 20, in case you didn't see it. Tatum's top 8, by the way. Rolled his ankle on legit in the first 30 seconds last night and was never the same. Reese said, if Tatum doesn't roll his ankle, do the Celtics win? I still think the Heat win, even if Tatum's healthy.
Yeah, the Heat were playing, a brand of basketball which, they're not usually playing, and they were being aggressive, firing on all cylinders. And what we've seen from them usually, for the most part of these playoffs was, a couple guys doing really good for a few moments, and then they'll get cold. And then a few minutes later, somebody else will get hot. Usually it was Jimmy Buckets, but last night they kind of were just all on all game.
Yeah, I think it was a really well-rounded game last night for the Miami Heat. And, you can if Tatum plays, the game's definitely closer. You never have those 21-point deficits by the Celtics, I don't believe. But I think really what it was is the Celtics just didn't have that drive that the Heat did. The Heat looked like they cared more, and I think that's what showed on the court, to me at least. And I get that might be a little bit biased because I care about the Celtics way more than I care about the Heat, so I was nitpicking a little bit more, I guess. And maybe that's Reese's point about me getting mad at not. I don't even know what he was mad at. He was just mad. But no, I think the Heat deserved to win that game, man. They played hard. They've played hard all playoffs long. They're an 8 seed making it all the way to the finals. They were saying on ESPN just a few minutes ago it's the longest odds since the merger of the NBA and ABA that a team going into the playoffs has ever had that made it to the finals. So it proves to the culture that they've built. Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches of all time and doesn't get the love he deserves. Jimmy Butler has been fantastic throughout the entire playoffs. And then when you have role players like Caleb Martin and Max Strus and Gabe Vincent who can hit big shots and don't have to be the most talented guys in the world to make a difference, I think that's what we've seen from the Heat, and that's why they win Game 7 last night in such a dominant fashion.
Yeah, I mean it kind of shows that any given sport, any given team can win on any given day.
Yeah.
Like the Heat were not favored in any of these games that they played in this playoffs run, and they are showing that they belong here. I mean, you got players on that team like Caleb Martin, who you just said, who went undrafted, right? He kind of got a gimme chance with a team, and he's worked his way up to this team and is proving that he belongs here.
Yeah, I mean, he went from being undrafted, gets to play with his twin brother in Charlotte, and then gets cut because he wasn't even, playing well enough to play at one of the worst teams in the NBA, finds his way onto the Miami Heat, ends up averaging like 13 points or something throughout the playoffs, and, ends up being the highest scorer for the Miami Heat last night, just has an absolutely phenomenal run. So it's really good to see stories like that. And the Heat are one of those teams that always have stories like this and make it work with kind of like less. They make it work with less, it seems like, every single year. And, I mean, I would have loved for the Celtics to win it all because outside the Pels, the Celtics are my favorite team. They're really the team that made me fall in love with basketball back in 2008. But
The glory days.
the glory days, indeed. But, you know, I'm really happy for the Heat. I think it's a really good team. It's a really good story. And I'm really excited for this finals where we saw the complete opposite happen. You have a team that goes 7 games and has to grind through and make every last shot to make it there. And then you had a team that swept and have been sitting
well rested.
In the Denver Nuggets, who just dominated the Lakers. Sorry, Clown Car. LeBron is not the greatest player of all time. Good second place. But I think it's going to be a really fun finals. Quick preview of what you think is going to happen and who you think is going to come out of it.
I would love to see the Heat, run away with this one. But the Nuggets are hard to beat. They match up really well against the Heat, if you go position by position. The only thing would be stopping Jimmy Butler, and I think they can do that. Michael Porter is probably going to be on him most of the game. He's got that length on him, so he can guard him in the perimeter and down low, and then even if it comes to it, they could switch off and have Jokic on him, and Michael Porter can switch on to Bam or whoever. So I think it looks really good for the Nuggets matchup-wise, but the Heat have a lot of fight in them. However, I'm going to say Nuggets in 5.
Nuggets in 5. Okay.
I don't think it'll be a sweep, but
I mean the Nuggets were the 1 seed for a reason, and it's never fun before. I know, I saw it, I ignored it. It's never fun before the playoffs to pick a 1 seed winning the championship, just because it's like so chalk. You don't want to do it. Yeah. You want to have some fun in there. So seeing a 1 seed match up against the 8 seed in the finals is really cool, in my opinion. I think that's super dope. I'm excited for these finals. I don't think it'll be a sweep either way, kind of like you said. I think both teams have too much fight in them to let that happen. But when it comes down to it, you look at the two teams and, you have all those role players on the Miami Heat with Caleb Martin and Max Strus, who you love, Gabe Vincent. Bam Adebayo is a fantastic player, one of my favorites. They still have got Kyle Lowry, but their 1-star player is Jimmy Butler. And when you look at the Denver Nuggets, you've got Jokic, who is arguably the greatest player on the planet playing NBA basketball right now. But you've also got Jamal Murray. And Jamal Murray has been absolutely phenomenal through these playoffs. He's averaging almost 28. He's averaging about 5 assists. And he's doing it on efficient shooting, too. I think he's going to be the difference maker. And I don't know. I just don't think the Heat have enough to stop the Nuggets. But then again, it didn't look like they had enough to stop the Celtics either.
Yeah.
And they end up winning that series. So I don't really... It could go either way, for sure. I don't think it's going to end in 5 either way. I could see it going 6 or 7 just because the Heat are so scrappy and never back down. But I do think the Nuggets have what it takes. I think Jokic is the best player on the planet, and I think he's going to prove that the MVPs weren't worthless. He's finally going to get that ring and cement himself as one of the best players of this generation. So I'm going to take the Nuggets in 6.
Yeah. I mean, him not winning another MVP this year, he seems like he got pretty pissed at that. And he said, "Oh, give me the MVP. I'll show you who's the real MVP."
Yeah, and he if you watch his interviews, he's hilarious too.
Yeah.
Like he's a cool personality. So I think the Heat will end up winning it. I mean, the Nuggets will end up winning. Excuse me, but the Heat definitely have a chance. I don't want to count them out. Jimmy Butler. Phenomenal player. Bam is one of the best defensive centers in the game, so he might find a way to limit Jokic, but when it comes to the Nuggets, I think they've done too much to come this far and lose, so I'm going to take Denver.
Yeah. Plus they're well rested, they haven't played in a long time.
Yeah.
Compared to the Heat. So, but regardless, I think it'll be a fun series to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure you and Clown Car will keep us updated on what's going on throughout the series once it ends, what it looked
Absolutely.
like, of course.
Might have a little watch party for the one of the final
Hello.
games.
Love that. If a team's about to win it, if one team's up by 3 games to whatever, have the people watch along. Moving on from basketball, if you take out 2 letters, you get baseball. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. I don't know why I said that. That was kind of dumb. But, we've got NCAA baseball hitting the postseason right now. The tournaments are done. The conference tournaments are done. We don't have to talk about what happened with LSU, but we do have to talk about LSU being a number 1 seed and hosting a regional this weekend.
Love to see it.
And you know what else I love to see? I love to see that the team that all the No Network loves. I know Patty and Dave love Tulane. They have a shirt that they've got going on, a cool looking Tulane shirt. But Tulane's 19-40.
Yeah.
And they're matching up with LSU, who is 43-15. Now, of course, we've seen records not matter.
Correct.
It's LSU played Stony Brook a few years ago, and
I mean, look at Coastal Carolina from a few years back.
right. I mean, teams just because you have a high record don't mean you're going to win in the postseason.
When it comes to playoffs in basically any sport, it's all about who wants it more.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we talked about with the Heat and the Celtics. Is it looked like the Heat wanted it more, and we're going to see in this tournament who wants it more out of the Baton Rouge Regional. So, in case you didn't see the bracket, what we've got is LSU versus Tulane and Sam Houston versus Oregon State. So those are our 4 teams: LSU, Tulane, Sam Houston, and Oregon State. So those 4 teams will be in Baton Rouge. Winners will take each other. Losers will take each other. And then, you'll have your double elimination style tournament in order to determine a winner out of the regional. LSU takes on Tulane in the first game on Friday. I feel pretty confident that LSU can win.
Yeah. I feel like it's a favorable matchup. I don't think we need to throw Paul Skeens that day.
I think,
would hope that
in
we
my
don't.
opinion, we're going to throw Thatch.
Thatcher would be a great option, especially coming off the game he just had. If he could duplicate that, that would be excellent. And then maybe throw Skeens the second day. Maybe throw Ty Floyd the second day. You have more leeway if we do well in the first game.
Yeah, I think the rotation kind of goes the same as SEC tournament, where you go Thatcher, Paul, Ty, just to keep arms in the right rotation once you get past the regional.
Yeah.
If willing, we do that.
Yeah.
But that's where LSU has to put their mindset. Is what does it look like once we get to super regionals and maybe even beyond. So I definitely think we have what it takes to get out of the regional. I am a little worried about Oregon State. Oregon State's a very good baseball program. Every single year they're good. It's not one of those like one-off, like, oh, they had a good year. Like Oregon State, every year you see them in this NCAA tournament. So they've built that sustained success. However, the SEC absolutely ruled this tournament.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just looking at the top 16 seeds, it's dominated by SEC teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time in NCAA history where one conference has 8 of the 16 national seeds. So the SEC absolutely dominated. We had 8 of the 16 national seeds, 10 total teams in there out of the 14 SEC teams. So, I mean, the SEC is absolutely dominating the NCAA tournament right now. And LSU is one of the number 1 seeds that is being able to host a regional. I see Dustin in the chat over there. I hope Tommy is healthy. I think that was kind of a good thing that they held him out against A&M because, let's be honest, the SEC tournament wouldn't have helped us all that much.
Yeah.
Like, if we win the SEC tournament, does it look better on the resume? Sure. But we don't. I mean, we got a number 1 seed.
Yeah, we still get the same result.
Like, we got a number 1 seed. You're not going to... You can't really move up from getting a number 1 seed. So, I'm not too worried about him resting. He has all this week to rest as well because we don't play again until Friday. And even then, you can hold Tommy out of the Tulane game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some dogs on this bench that can easily fill in roles.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Bear has been shining. Josh Pearson played well in the SEC tournament. You've got Cade Beloso, He's a first baseman. Jared Jones is a first baseman. Trey Morgan can play anywhere on the field, and he's gonna play phenomenal. He's such a good defensive player, and he's good with the bat in his hand too.
Yeah, I mean, we look at Trey Morgan and Travinsky in the last game.
Yeah,
both of them went perfect.
Yeah, I mean through the first 3 rounds of the lineup, Morgan and Travinsky were 3 for 3, while everyone else was 1 for 18 combined. So Morgan and Travinsky, you can't ask for much more out of those two guys. And then you can't forget about Dylan Cruz. You can't forget about
Jordan
Thompson. That's the name I was trying to pull. I was like, who's our shortstop? Gavin Dugas has been batting
Love Doogie.
in the 8 hole, and he's still batting over 300. So this team is filled with bats. Of course, Tommy White is, the second in the nation in RBIs, so he's not a guy you can overlook.
Yeah.
However, get him his rest, get him healthy, and, when it's time for him to play, he'll play. It's going to suck not having him out there, but I think we have enough firepower to make it out of the regionals without him. But once we get out of that, then it really becomes important for him to make it back into the lineup. So for our sakes, let's say LSU makes it out the regional. We'll take on the winner of the Kentucky regional, which is Kentucky, Ball State, Indiana, and West Virginia. Originally, we had both said before the pod that we think Kentucky's going to win that, but you look at Indiana; they're 41-18 as a 3 seed.
Even Ball State, who's the 4 seed, like compared to Tulane's 19-40, Ball State 36-21.
Yeah, I mean that Kentucky regional doesn't look too easy. But like I said, SEC's been dominant all season, so I would say Kentucky makes it out of that. And LSU beat Kentucky this season, so it's not unfair to say that we have a road to the super regionals. If we make it that far, we'll probably have to take on the number 4 team in the country in Clemson. Looking at who they've got, of course, they've got Tennessee in theirs. And, if they make it out the regional, you still have to face either Auburn or Stanford probably. Or Samford, excuse me. So, it's not like an easy road to Omaha.
Yeah. But it's not the most difficult.
No. I think we have a shot. For me, my favorite part about this NCAA tournament, scroll up just a little bit on our bracket here. You look at the number one. No, I'm looking at the one right above it. We're looking at the number 1 seeded team in all of the nation, Wake Forest, and they've got to take on Maryland as their number 2 seed. I think Maryland has a chance to beat Wake Forest. If there's a 2 seed that could win it all, I think it's Maryland. I was catching some highlights of them and reading a little bit about their baseball team. They're really good. So for me, I think that would be really cool to see Maryland knock off Wake Forest in the regionals, and then if that happens, we have a chance to see a 4-team SEC Omaha, which would be super dope. Because I think I like looking at who could make it to Omaha. I could legitimately see it being Alabama, or honestly Texas A&M, LSU, Florida, and Vandy.
Yeah.
I really do think LSU has a shot once we get to Omaha, but we have to make it there first, and I don't want to jinx anything. However, I feel confident about this regional. That's where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, got plenty of firepower on the bench. Tommy really is he's a good guy to have, but I'd say it's better to have him later than sooner, where he can make more of an impact and come up clutch in those situations where it's, win or go home.
Yeah.
So let him get his rest, let him get healthy, so that way we get him at 100% for these important games that'll be coming up soon.
Yeah, I think as long as we're healthy, I think Super Regionals is is where we'll really start to look for. Dustin in the chat again. Did y'all see there are no hotel rooms because of a concert this weekend? I did see that. So everyone in the Kentucky regional, all the other teams are having to stay in dorms at Kentucky. That's very unfortunate for those teams. Having to stay in dorm rooms, I mean, you're putting those guys in a bad spot. It sucks. I think that's something that kind of should have been looked at. You would think that people would think about that kind of stuff. Apparently not. But
What's the concert?
I have no idea. It's in Kentucky, so it can't be that big. It's probably like Billy Ray Cyrus or something. I don't know.
I'd go.
I don't know. I'm just making stuff up at this point. But yeah, I'm excited for postseason baseball. College baseball is super fun. It's one of those things you can watch like a team you have no investment in and you still really enjoy the game.
Like me with NC State last year.
Yes, that's kind of how I feel about two teams this year.
East Carolina.
No, Maryland and Oklahoma State.
That's how I feel about East Carolina.
Okay. East
2
Carolina.
seed in the Virginia Regional, 45-17.
That's a dang good record for a 2 seed. But not as far as non-SEC schools go, I really like Maryland and I really like Oklahoma State. I think both of those teams have a chance to make some noise here in the postseason. But I am going to put my prediction out there that 4 SEC teams are going to make it to Omaha. I'm just going to say it because I like to be bold. I'm going to go Florida A&M, LSU, and Vandy to go ahead and make it all the way.
Wow.
And then, another LSU A&M series for the 3rd time this year, and then we'll take on either Florida or Vandy, who a rematch from the SEC tournament.
We'll take them to 11 extra innings.
We're going into the 24th inning. We have Ethan Fry up to bat because everyone else is passed out due to heat exhaustion in Omaha, Nebraska, which isn't a real place, by the way.
Yeah,
I refuse
Nebraska
to believe
doesn't exist. Lot has informed us that it is a country music festival.
All right, yeah, book me. I'm there.
Billy Ray Cyrus might be there.
He might be. I love country music. I might go to Kentucky too and stay in a dorm. Who knows? And then another thing we want to talk about with LSU, moving on beyond the baseball, we wanted to talk about LSU football. Specifically, I wanted to talk about LSU football.
I mean,
Since I will not be here this entire summer, this is something we were going to do eventually. Might as well do it now. Go through LSU's football schedule, make our predictions of what's going to turn out before we get into the dog days of the summer where there's no real football talk going on. I saw PFF had posted the LSU football schedule and said, "Ooh, how many games is LSU going to win this season?" I took a look at the schedule, and I have my number in my brain. I don't know if you've looked at the schedule and got the number in your brain.
I'm looking at it now.
But let's go game by game, and we don't have to give an in-depth analysis to each one because some of them are going to be blow-offs. But just first, looking at that first game, it's a rematch from last year's first game. Got LSU versus Florida State. So the winner of the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, the winner of the Cheez-It Cheez-It Bowl, it's going to be taking place in Orlando, Florida, where both of those games were held. So basically, it's to determine who woke up feeling the cheesiest.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping the Tigers woke up feeling the cheesiest
I
come
think they
September
will.
3rd.
It's kind of a revenge game from last season. If you remember, a lot of people started doubting LSU because of this game last season.
One game in, man. One game in.
Yeah, and it really, it was only affected by our special teams. Like we had a block punt and I think 2 blocked field goals.
Yeah.
And we had that 98-yard drive at the very end of the game that looked so pretty. So pretty from Jaden Daniels.
Just to end on
Correct, a lot. And Jaden we trust.
In Jaden we trust indeed. Fun fact, I have a bet on Jaden Daniels to win Heisman this year.
Oh, wow.
I also have a bet on LSU to win the Natty this year.
Oh, wow. I like it.
Got to put your money where the mouth is.
Yeah. Mr. BDE himself.
Love you, buddy. But yeah, I think Florida State's gonna be a really good football team. They were much improved last year. In my opinion, they have one of the top 5 quarterbacks in college football, and Jordan Travis. He was phenomenal last year in the game against LSU and continued that dominance across the rest of the season. But as somebody who's gotten to see a couple practices from LSU this spring and just know the talent we have on the team, we're landing transfers. We've got good freshmen coming in. LSU's going to be a really, really good football program this year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really excited for this season, and I think Florida State will be the tone setter because looking, past Florida State, and we'll get to the games, but LSU doesn't have the hardest of schedules this season.
Correct.
So if we can prove ourselves against Florida State and win that one, get that revenge game from last year.
We don't play Troy this year.
We do not play Troy this year, but we do play Army, which is, similar in the sense that they both have swords in their logo.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think Florida State will be the prove it game, first game of the year. You win it, you got a good outlook for the season. You lose it, and you got to bounce back. But I think the Tigers can take the Seminoles.
I agree with you on that. I think Brian Kelly's going to come out with a vengeance after last year, after losing that game, and everybody kind of putting the blame on him. Kind of got pissed off. I think he's going to take Florida State's money and run.
I would love to see it. So Tigers start off 1-0. Next up against Grambling.
Win.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we did last year with Southern. You get a local team in there that's going to draw in fans of not only LSU but Louisiana as a whole and other programs around the state, and you get that local feel, and it's going to be a fun time tailgating outside the game for people who can enjoy both teams. But it's not going to be a game that is particularly close, I don't believe. I think LSU will hand Grambling a pretty bad beating.
Yeah.
In
just
in
like
Death
we did
Valley.
just like we did with Southern, even though Southern had a pretty good team last year, for their level of competition. So that after we played them, I kind of stayed in touch with them, followed a little bit, and they actually finished the season pretty well, from what they're used to.
Yeah.
So congrats to Southern on that. Maybe if we beat Grambling like that, they'll have that kind of luck this year.
Hopefully for them. Next game, we'd be going to Mississippi State, who unfortunately lost their head coach. Tragically passed away, Mike Leach, innovator.
Change the game.
Yeah, innovator in college football. I mean, if you look at what he did before Mississippi State over at Washington State, I mean, produced the most passing yards of all time from like 8 guys. Like just not necessarily created, but reinvented that air raid offense and what it meant to college football, and really did a lot for the game. So it's an unfortunate circumstance that nobody wants to talk about, but it did happen, and we'll see where Mississippi State as a program heads now that Mike Leach is no longer the coach. That being said, I think LSU is just the better football team.
I agree with you on that.
I don't. Although it is an SEC game and it'll be our first SEC game of the season, I don't think it'll necessarily be one of those like wait until the last drive kind of games. I think they'll win this one. Maybe not as much as they beat Grambling by, but
probably not.
But they'll move on to 3-0 in my opinion.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
The next game will be a little bit tougher, I believe. An Arkansas team that every year for the past few years with Sam Pittman as the coach has been pretty good. I mean, they go bowling every year.
Yeah, they past few years, they've kind of been at this steady state where they start the season really good and then they kind of start to fall off.
Yeah, and they're always a thorn in the side of LSU too.
So playing them early might
be better for us.
Might be worse.
Really?
Yeah, because I think they start off hot.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, they have the past 2 seasons.
Yeah. Our Arkansas, and it's weird because we never play them this early. Arkansas is usually the game after Bama every year. Every year it feels like it goes Bama, Arkansas, random opponent, A&M. But this year we're playing them, 4th game of the season. KJ Jefferson is back for Arkansas. Arkansas also has my favorite running back in the country, Raheem Sanders, also known as Rocket Sanders, and I think, in my opinion, he's going to... I don't know why I like him so much, but I've seen him play for so long that I think he's so good. Come the NFL draft next season, he'll probably be one of my guys. I think he's probably a first-round talent as a running back.
Okay.
Keep that in the... Clip it, as some would say. Clip
right
that.
Here.
Raheem, in your pocket. Yep. Raheem Sanders, running back out of Arkansas, very good talent. However, my favorite player for LSU dominated Arkansas last season, and it is the only reason we won. HBK, Harold Perkins. Absolutely dominated Arkansas last season, and I think he's going to do it again. I mean,
he's just like the definition of a pure athlete.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing he can't do on the defensive side of the football, and we might throw him in an offense too, and he might be able to dominate on there.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in just one drive, I've seen him, get pressure on the quarterback, sack the quarterback, making an outside tackle on the running back for a loss, and then cover a receiver.
Yeah,
Great coverage downfield too.
He can do whatever he wants. He can set the edge as a rusher on a run play. He can power through a tackle or speed around a tackle to pressure the quarterback. He can cover a tight end across the middle of the field. He can play out routes as an outside corner. Like, Harold Perkins is such a phenomenal athlete. He kind of just he's reminiscent of Micah Parsons.
Yeah,
who's so versatile. And Micah Parsons kind of had his name as an edge rusher on the next level for the Cowboys, but I really do think that Harold Perkins has the versatility to be one of the best defensive players in college football. That being said, I think we can beat Arkansas.
I agree with you on this.
Cool.
Tigers start out 4-0.
Then we go to Oxford.
Then we go 5-0.
Last time I went to Oxford, it was not a great experience for me. Shout out Morgan Wallen. But, I mean, listen, I love Lane Kiffin. I think Lane Kiffin's one of the coolest coaches in college football. As far as his personality goes, what he does for recruiting, just how active he is on social media. But Ole Miss's quarterback situation, I don't love that for them. Jackson Dart last season was not great in my opinion.
Nope.
They bring in Spencer Sanders, I believe his name is, or Steven Sanders, one of the two, from Oklahoma State, who I feel like has been in college for about 14 years now. He's Brandon Weeden level old.
Wow.
I don't know if he's going to end up starting. And then you have LSU transfer Walker Howard going over to Ole Miss, who transferred from a quarterback 3 situation to transfer into a quarterback 3 situation from a good school to a bad school. So I don't quite understand what his motive was there. But anyway.
Well, I mean, we've seen what happened last time. Someone from LSU transferred to another SEC school and then played each other. Shout out Auburn.
TJ Finley, who's now at Texas State. Yeah. Anyway. I think, from what we saw with Ole Miss last year, I think they ended up going 7-6. Probably about the same record this year.
I'd probably
I'd put LSU in one of those 6s, if you ask me. Next one, we'd take on Missouri. Feel bad for them. Dude, this schedule's like kind of really easy.
Yeah.
LSU, I think LSU's going to be a really good team. And I'm looking at the next 3 games, Missouri, Auburn, Army. We win all 3 of those games.
I agree with you.
So, listen, I think, and this is coming from a biased LSU fan, of course, an LSU student twice over who's wearing LSU and has Joe Burrow above him. I think we start off the season 8-0, taking on Bama on November 4th. Now, we beat Bama last year.
We did. And I think
on the riskiest play in college football. Went for 2 when we were down by 1. If we miss it, we lose. If we make it, we win.
Yeah, I mean, I said it, I texted it in our group message before, right as we scored the touchdown. I said, I'm calling it. Brian Kelly's going to show his nuts to these Bama fans, and we're going to win this game.
And he did. And it was a really cool dynamic for him to do that, because in that Florida State game, everybody's like, oh, we should go for 2 here to win the game, and he doesn't. We lose the game. Yep. And then he has the same exact situation, and he goes for it, and he wins it. I was a big hater of Brian Kelly before he came to LSU.
Yes, you were.
And I have multiple times apologized and, put my word out there that I have reversed my tone. I think Brian Kelly's a very good coach. I think he finally has what it takes with this LSU program to do what he's never done and win a national championship. Okay, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of going through game by game. LSU's going undefeated this season.
Undefeated?
Undefeated.
Wow.
We're winning every game. Florida stinks. We're going to beat the crap out of Georgia State. And A&M, no school has ever made me as mad as A&M makes me every year, because every year, whoever's supposed to win does not win that game. Every single season. Whoever's supposed to win does not win.
I mean, look at Devon Achane last season.
Last season.
Most stiff arms in FBS history.
And then the season before that, Max Johnson had the only good game of his career, and then beats A&M and then transfers there. LSU's going undefeated. You know what? We're going undefeated. We're going to be the number 2 in the country, and we're going to make the college football playoff.
I like it.
Our boy Harp from the know asked, do y'all think Jaden Daniels gets Heisman consideration?
I do.
If LSU goes undefeated, he sure as heck should.
I think, even if we drop a game or two, I think he's still going to put on such a good performance this year that it's going to be hard not to consider him. I mean, you'll still have Caleb Williams, who's probably the front runner right now.
Yeah, I mean, he won it last year.
But
I think when I put a bet on him, he was 8th in odds. The guys above him were Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix, Quinn Ewers.
Bo Nix is gonna just
poop.
Yeah, he's gonna blow everything.
He's not good.
He's gonna fumble multiple times.
I think Daniels was somewhere around 7 to 8 in odds.
That's higher than I would think.
For me, I think here's why I think Jaden Daniels is and should be in the Heisman consideration before the season even starts. If you compare Jaden Daniels to a quarterback, in my opinion, it's Hendon Hooker. I think Hendon Hooker and Jaden Daniels are very similar quarterbacks. I think Jaden Daniels offers more on the ground, but as far as processing and throwing the ball and how they move in the pocket and the physicality of the quarterbacks, I think Jaden Daniels and Hendon Hooker are very similar. And Hendon Hooker was winning the Heisman if he doesn't tear his ACL last season.
Oh yeah.
So
I agree.
Why can't Jaden Daniels do the same thing with a team that'll probably be just as good as Tennessee was last year?
Tennessee was really good.
They were
until he got hurt.
And then they lose to Georgia, and they
lose to South Carolina.
Creamed by South Carolina. LSU could have a very similar season to what Tennessee did last year. Hendon Hooker was winning the Heisman if he doesn't get hurt.
It's not too similar.
The first 9 games. So in my opinion, Jaden Daniels should get Heisman consideration, especially if they have the type of season I expect them to.
This is going to sound weird, but I think his Heisman candidacy revolves around how well LSU can run the ball.
That it does sound weird, but I know what you mean.
If they can get their ground game working, that means because I already know he's going to be able to throw the ball and he's going to be able to scramble. But if they can get their run game working, that's going to leave defenses defenseless. They're not going to know which side to cover, which part of the field to cover,
and
because LSU is going to be all over the field.
LSU also has 4 number 1 running backs on their team. They have so many good guys in the backfield. I mean, Logan Diggs just transferred in, who was a 1,000+ yard rusher at Notre Dame. You've got Noah Cain, who is a very, very good running back who transferred from Penn State 2 years ago. Armani Goodwin, who's making his way back from an injury.
Hopefully he stays on punt team.
Yes, very good returner. And, Malik Neighbors, who is going to be our wide receiver 1, who's an extremely good wide receiver. Do not put him receiving a punt. He will drop it. However, very, very good wide receiver.
They had the white kid.
Jack Besh.
Jack Besh.
He's no longer an LSU Tiger, so it doesn't even matter. I forget where he went. But I think, man, LSU, I'm so biased. I really am. Because
me too. We live in Baton Rouge.
I mean, if you walk out of our apartment, you can see Tiger Stadium almost. So we are absolutely biased. We are huge LSU fans, LSU student, LSU hanging behind us. Gonna live in Baton Rouge next time we get a place. But LSU is gonna be really, really, really good in football this year, and I'm super excited for what we're gonna do.
Me too.
All right, that was our spiel on college football. Let's move into the final thing we want to talk about tonight. Before we do that, I do want to mention one thing. The Pelicans released a statement saying that they're going to reevaluate their player health and wellness program. Basically, what that means to me is they're going to get their athletic training staff to figure it out, because we have way too many injuries, and Zion cannot keep getting Zioned like he has been. So I think the Pelicans are finally reaching that point where they're like, no, we have to figure this out. That came out a few hours ago. I just wanted to quickly note that and say that it's probably the right move to reevaluate what's been going on in that building as far as health and wellness of the players go, because you have to get healthier as a team if you want to make a run for it. All right. I see you were pulling it up here. So we want to talk about fantasy football just because we love it so much. We are two huge fantasy football fans. Just like, it's not even about the money. It's about the game of fantasy football itself. It's just so fun to have that aspect of the game where you kind of feel like a GM and you never know what's going to happen, and it's just so cool.
It's so easy to get caught up in it and get so overhyped about whether you just drafted a team and you're trying to convince yourself that it's a really good team, even though it doesn't look too good.
Even though you'll probably finish 500 and miss the playoffs, yeah.
But I love fantasy football.
So what we're gonna do with this fantasy football talk, and I think this will be kind of our last little topic here, but it'll be a fun one. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go through each of the 4 big positions.
Okay.
So quarterback, running back,
defense,
wide receiver,
kicker, IDPs, and flex.
So quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, the big four offensive positions, and we don't have a flex in our league, so we don't really focus on that flex. It's pretty cool that way. So we're gonna go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and we're gonna give one hot take per position. So it could be a guy who is going to finish way higher than he did last year, a guy who is going to finish way lower, a guy who you think is being overlooked, underlooked, or even a rookie who you think is going to make a considerable contribution to a team in fantasy football this season. So go ahead, give me your quarterback fantasy football hot take for the 2023 NFL fantasy football season.
I'd love to as soon as I'm done
fixing this pillow.
Cushion.
Okay.
All right. So first off, I don't know how hot of a take this is, but Russell Wilson will be around top 5, maybe like 5, 6. But this new offense, new coaching, people constantly saying last year that Russell Westbrook's not good anymore. Not Russell Wilson.
People also say Russell Westbrook's not good.
Fair.
So, I mean, you're not wrong. But you also weren't right.
So yeah, people were saying Russell Wilson just isn't him anymore. He's not, he's not throwing the ball the same. He doesn't have the same team around him. He's only successful because it was Seattle, and I don't think that's true at all. I think that he kind of walked into a bad situation. I mean, Broncos offense was kind of just hurt year round. People going in and out of the tent, in and out of the locker room, and I mean the main point is Nathaniel Hackett. He is just a terrible coach.
Very bad.
At least with this offense, he just didn't fit it at all.
Yeah.
They were not looking anything like how I thought they would. But with Sean Payton, I'm way more confident in this offense, way more confident in Russell Wilson. He's going to be a top dog in fantasy this year.
So I do think it's a hot take, personally. I don't mind it because I would love to see the Broncos take a step up and Russell Wilson get back to, what he used to be, and Broncos country, let's ride, and big number 3. Like, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Sean Payton succeed just so we can shut Clown Car up about how bad of a coach he is. But I do think it's a hot take. I think a lot of people are kind of done with Russell Wilson after what we saw last year. He just looked bad, but he's at camp right now and he's lost like 15 pounds. He looks slim. He looks back in shape, and he should be healthier this season. Bringing in Sean Payton, he should be pretty good. But what are we doing, bro? I do think it's a hot take. I don't mind it. That being said, I made my fantasy football rankings, position rankings, a couple weeks ago. Since me and Rebo Hustle want to get that done before the summer starts because our schedules are so conflicting. And I did not have Russell Wilson in my top 15.
Wow.
So
where'd you have him?
I only made 15, so he could be 16, he could be 22. I'm not sure.
That's shocking.
I had 15. I have at least 15 guys above him, and to be honest with you, I'd probably have at least 1 or 2 more. But my hot take for this NFL fantasy football season is Trevor Lawrence will finish top 3.
I could see that.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's kind of hot when you look at Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Lamar. Like, those are kind of the 5 fantasy football guys and Justin Herbert. So 6 fantasy football guys who everybody's taken. Those are the first 6 quarterbacks off the board, in my opinion. And then Trevor Lawrence. You got Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Tua, Dak, kind of in the next tier. I think Trevor Lawrence makes his way up into that first tier of top 3 guys, just because of what they added to that offense and how good he already was last season. But going into his draft, I thought Trevor Lawrence was the bust of all busts, but we know I suck at quarterback evals. So, of course, he's really good. He's got Doug Peterson. Calvin Ridley is going to be on that team, and I think Calvin Ridley is going to be a really, really good player for the Jags. You've got Travis Etienne out the backfield, who was a quiet 1,000-yard rusher and 35 catches out the backfield. Like, Travis Etienne's a really good back to partner with Trevor Lawrence, as they did in college. Calvin Ridley's a really good player. You've still got Christian Kirk on that team, who was a top 15 fantasy wide receiver last season.
Got Evan Ingram.
Who
very fast for the tight end position.
If
linebackers can't cover him.
If he can keep his hands on the football, because that's his biggest problem is drops.
Yeah.
If he doesn't drop the football, he's going to be a really good fantasy tight end, because he can catch it in the red zone and give you a touchdown. But he's also so fast that he can get those 30-yard catches. So I think Trevor Lawrence, with everything surrounding him, plus having 6 games in your division where your division's kind of buns, you're going to be able to pump up your numbers.
Yeah.
So my hot take is Trevor Lawrence finishes top 3 in fantasy quarterbacks this season.
Yeah, I could definitely get behind that. I really like that offense they've built in Jacksonville, and to pair it with Doug Peterson is just it kind of just it looks good.
Offensive guru, man.
It'll feel good.
Look at what he did with the Eagles when he was there.
Right.
That being said, Trevor Lawrence is not in my top 3, but it's a hot take. So, got to keep Rebo happy too. Moving on to the running backs. What's your hot take for the running back position? I can go first if you'd like me to.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Bijan Robinson is not a top 10 running back.
Oh, I love you. That's such a good take.
He will not finish top 10 in fantasy running backs this year. I don't see it. I don't know what all the hype's about. Yeah, he was great in college, but, Atlanta's O-line isn't the best. Their offense in general isn't the best. I don't see why he's getting so much hype. He's not going to go in there and completely turn around that franchise. And, this website's putting him at 3. Like, they have him above Eckler, Chubb, Barkley, Josh Jacobs, who just led the league in rushing.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry. Like, that's absurd to me.
No, he should not be that high. Could he finish about 9 or 10? Sure.
Yeah.
But you've got Tyler Algier there, who played so well last season. And when you look at fantasy football, you want to get players who are in offenses who score points. Because if your offense isn't scoring points, your players aren't scoring points.
Yeah, the Atlanta's best offensive player was Younghoe Koo.
Pretty
for
much.
3 seasons now.
Pretty much. They had Cordero at the beginning of the year last year, who ended up getting injured, didn't play the full season. Tyler Algier did rush for 1,000 yards, but that doesn't really translate to fantasy sometimes because you got to get those touchdowns, you got to get those catches. So if you look at the Atlanta offense, they're not going to finish probably top 10 in scoring.
No.
So it's going to be hard for Bijan to really shine in that offense, in my opinion.
Yeah, if in order for Bijan to finish that high, Desmond Ridder has to have a great season, and I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I can get behind that. My hot take partners with that. In the fact that I'm going to go with a rookie running back, and you can probably guess who I'm going to go with, considering it's my team, my secondary team, kind of how the Boston Celtics are in the NBA. I'm going to talk about the Detroit Lions, talk about Jahmyr Gibbs, and my hot take. Again, don't know how hot it's going to be, but is that Jahmyr Gibbs finishes in the top 15 running backs.
Okay, I could definitely see it.
So I'm gonna give you, I'm not gonna give you the exact order of my running backs, but these are running backs who most people would probably have above Jahmyr Gibbs. You've got Jonathan Taylor, Eckler, CMC, Saquon, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, Javonte Williams, Aaron Jones, Bijan, like you were talking about. You got guys like Najee Harris, Breece Hall, who's coming off an ACL. So all those guys are probably above Jahmyr Gibbs in most people's mind. But for me, I think Jahmyr Gibbs with the Lions investing the 12th pick into him, they see something in him.
Yeah, they have to.
They have to know that he is going to be a key part of that offense. And like I was just talking about with Atlanta not scoring a lot of points, Detroit's going to score a lot of points. They did it last season. They were a top 5 offense in scoring last season with what people considered not great weapons.
Yeah, and then they traded away their best weapon.
What are you talking about?
Hawkinson.
Yeah. You know how much I love Hawkinson. But they got Sam Laporta to replace him. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they got Hawkinson 2.0. What's your problem? It's younger Hawkinson. It's Hawkinson but 4 years younger. And it's also Clown Car's favorite tight end in the league.
It
so
is.
I'm not mad at it. But I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to, in fantasy football, receiving backs usually end up higher. I mean, Derrick Henry's an exception, and I guess, Nick Chubb has kind of found his exception as well, finishing in the top 10 consistently. But when you look at fantasy running backs who typically finish high, CMC, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, those are guys who catch balls out of the backfield. And Jahmyr Gibbs, in my opinion, was the best receiving back in the draft. And I think with what Detroit wants to do in offense and just score points, you're gonna get a lot of play out of Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think he's gonna end up finishing, top 15 in running backs.
Yeah, I could easily see that. Detroit's built such a great program for his style of running backs that I mean, if he plays pretty similarly, in my opinion, to DeAndre Swift. If he can stay healthy, I think he'll be a better DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he is. I think he's a very similar mold to DeAndre Swift, undersized, but can do a lot of different things well. Really good receiving back, and if he stays healthy, he is a better DeAndre Swift. I think that's a perfect comparison. Moving on to the wide receiver position, what do you got as your hot take for the wide receiver position in fantasy football this season?
Well, one thing that is, I really don't consider this a hot take, but some people might. Calvin Ridley is going to be a league winner this year.
Okay.
Especially considering that a lot of people are going to look over him. So you could probably pick him up, late second round, early third round as a wide receiver too, if you've already got one. And he's been like a top 5 receiver in fantasy in Atlanta for like 2 years before all this stuff happened with him.
Right.
And I think he's going into a better situation than he was already in. He'll be, once again, a number 2 receiver, a great slot guy behind Christian Kirk in a very, very dynamic pass-heavy offense.
Yeah.
So I could see him getting the ball a lot and getting the ball a lot in the red zone.
Yeah, I think Calvin Ridley is going to be a phenomenal player this year. I talked about him when I talked about
Giving away
Trevor
all my
Lawrence.
secrets.
I mean,
I'm glad Randall's not watching.
He's
going to do the opposite of everything I said.
Randall's going to pick, he's going to make the worst picks of all time. He's just not good at fantasy football. He's just not. It's a Danton thing, I guess.
2 seasons in a row.
Sorry, Dustin, I love you.
I think he's won 1 game in 2 seasons.
Dude, he's going to pick, he's going to end up making something, so absurd that nobody can
He's
believe
going
it.
to draft Kayshawn.
Booty?
Yes.
That's kind of crazy that you just said that.
It's either him or Paul. Him or Paul is going to draft Kayshawn.
No, Paul's going to draft Jamar Chase and then release him. Again.
No, he's going to draft Tyjae Spears and then release him.
Oh, Tyjae Spears. He's taking Tyjae Spears in the first round. But no, I like your Calvin Ridley talk. I mean, I could definitely. Where do you see him finishing though? If you had to put him in a number.
So I personally think he's going to have a great year, but to play it safe, I'll say he'll finish around top 10. So 9, 10, 11, around there.
Cool. No, yeah.
He's currently ranked at 20th, but I think his ceiling, top 3. On this offense, top 3.
I like that. Listen, I'm not complaining.
But realistically, probably top 10.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that. I think Calvin Ridley's gonna have a great year. My hot take at the receiver position. This is based off of who's playing quarterback there now. Two guys who are always phenomenal in fantasy football: Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Those two are always steady contributors to your fantasy football team. Both of them are bound to miss at least 2 games a season with an injury, but even then, they still finish top 20. Like, they're just really good football players. They catch touchdowns, they catch passes.
A lot of balls.
Exactly.
Like, if you're in PPR, they've almost been a must for the past 5 seasons.
That's coming from a guy who had Mike Evans on his team last year. I did. And this is based off of who I know is playing quarterback for them and who's in their quarterback room. This is based off of a video we saw earlier that
we don't know who's playing quarterback there yet.
No, we know who's in the room.
Yeah.
We don't know who. I don't care which one of them's actually throwing the ball on Sundays. But this is a video that Clown Car sent me. This is a video that Rebo sent me. This is a video I saw all over social media between Baker and Kyle Trask. They cannot throw a football effectively. So my hot take is both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin finish outside the top 30. Outside the top 30 in fantasy receivers this season.
Ranked preseason.
I have them both.
Mike Evans is at 29. Chris Godwin's at 31.
Okay, so I guess it's not that hard of a take, apparently. I thought it was crazy to say that about two guys who have proven that they can play really effective football. I mean, Mike Evans has went over 1,000 yards every year of his career so far.
Tell you what I think. I think either one or both of them will try and get traded.
I could definitely see Mike Evans getting traded to a Super Bowl contender midseason. Like a Mike Evans to Buffalo.
There's not many Mike Evans in the NFL.
No,
there used to be. I mean, you had Larry Fitz, Calvin Johnson.
He's taken a step back. He's taken a step back for sure. But not many 6'5", 4.6 receivers. Like 6'5", running 4.6 40s. Like, you don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, he's past like 6 seasons. You see Tampa Bay, inside the 5-yard line. You know what play's coming, and you can't guard it.
No, Mike Evans in the red zone is one of the best receivers you'll ever see. And no matter what you do, the only guy who can stop it is Marshawn Lattimore.
Sometimes.
Most of the time. He had one game where he got kind of burnt, but that's one game. But no, I apparently it's not that hot of a take. But I just, with that quarterback situation, I don't see guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin finishing high. I mean, this is such a good time to watch NFL football at the receiver position because you've got the 2 best receivers in the league are both from LSU, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Like, I don't think that's debatable.
I mean, Cooper Kupp has a case if he stays healthy.
Second hot take, Cooper Kupp finishes outside the top 10 this year.
Wow.
Throw that one out there.
I like it.
Don't trust Stafford.
I don't.
He's been injured. Cooper Kupp was injured last year.
His elbow got hit by way too many tennis balls.
Yep, it'll happen. I don't trust the Rams offense. So, although Cooper Kupp 2 years ago was the greatest receiver of all time, I don't trust him finishing in the top 10 this year. You've got so many good receivers in the NFL right now that have good quarterbacks with them. I mean, the Bengals with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They've got Joe Burrow throwing them the ball. You've got CeeDee Lamb with Dak. You've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith with Jalen Hurts.
My favorite is what they're cooking down there in Miami.
Tua is throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And Tua's put on like 20 pounds of muscle. He did the opposite of Russell Wilson. Like, he beefed up and Russell Wilson slimmed down. So hopefully they don't have like opposite effects on each other. That would suck if Tua's back. Yeah. But no, I think Tua's going to have a really good year. I think Miami's going to have a great season.
Miami's going to be great.
I'm pretty sure I picked them to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, especially on the last episode. What they did by bringing in Jalen Ramsey, beefing up that defense, which was already good.
Yeah.
And their secondary was kind of the thing in question because they were able to stop the run all season, but they found their secondary kind of getting tired out and getting a little burnt towards the end of the games, like we saw early in the season against the Ravens, which was a crazy game.
Yeah.
But I think adding Jalen Ramsey kind of fixes that situation, helps your defense out a lot, and I think it makes them win those close games.
Yeah. No, I can absolutely, I can see it. And I think I think the one last thing at receiver I want to talk about is DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
because we don't
yeah.
know where he's going to be. He got cut last week.
So there were talks. We were listening to SportsCenter earlier. There were talks about, a lot of people think he's going either to the Bills or
It's the
to
Bills,
the
the Chiefs,
Browns.
the Browns, and the Ravens. It's those 4 teams that are really in
yeah.
consideration.
And a lot of people are saying that it's kind of between the Bills and the Browns. He's got the Deshaun Watson on the Browns, kind of like a reunited season of what they used to do in Houston, which was magical. Then he's got the Bills, which is already a great offense. Adding DeAndre Hopkins couldn't necessarily hurt them in adding another great offensive threat like that. However, I don't think he'll go to either of those places because they already have a number one option, Browns and Amari Cooper, and Bills and Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
And
I do think D-Hop's better than Amari Cooper, but
I do too.
Amari Cooper has already been in that offense for a season, and he performed really, really well last year. Kind of under the radar, but still had a really good season. So bringing in D-Hop definitely messes up something there.
Yeah, it's going to mess up a little bit at the beginning. It's D-Hop, so they'll probably fix it towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
But I really, and me and Dustin agree on this, but we really see him going to the Chiefs where he could be the solidified number one option, day one, walk in, and he's got Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, you add D-Hop to the Chiefs offense, and it's going to be hard to pick any game where they don't win. I mean, Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball to Travis Kelce and D-Hop, Isaiah Pacheco in the backfield, who I think is going to be really special this year after having a really good rookie season. And then you still have Kadarius Toney over there who performed well in the playoffs. You have Rashee Rice, who you just drafted. You lost Juju, but D-Hop's a much bigger upgrade over Juju than anybody else. So
He's Juju with better hands.
he's not Juju at all. He's better.
He's just D-Hop.
Yeah, he's D-Hop. I mean, D-Hop's still a really good player. He only played in 11 games last season, had 750 receiving yards, and had a game with 13 catches. I mean, D-Hop's getting older. D-Hop's been injured. D-Hop's gotten suspended, and D-Hop is still a very good wide receiver. So you add him to the Chiefs' offense. I mean, who's going to stop him?
Exactly.
Couldn't stop him with the best defense in football last year. You're not going to stop him with Joe Schmo and the Funky Bunch.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm D-Hop, I'm choosing the Chiefs all
To go to
day.
Patrick Mahomes? Yeah. I would say. I think that's a good move. So finally, moving on to the tight end position. Do you have a hot take at the tight end position? I think it's kind of one of those weird ones where it's
I think, besides...
it's kind of so solidified.
Yes, besides some of the rookies, it's kind of going to be chalk. I mean, in Tier 1, the top 4, you got Kelsey, Andrews, Hawkinson, Kittle. I think they will all finish
They
top
are
4.
also, I'm giving away trade secrets, they are also my top 4 on my fantasy rankings.
One person that I could see go up a little bit, maybe Dallas Goedert. He could sneak into the top 4,
Yeah.
be in that Tier 1, especially with this explosive offense in Philly. He's kind of like the safety valve of that team. They only kind of throw to him on, third and short or second and long when they're just trying to get closer to the first down. He hasn't really made those explosive plays that we've seen the top 4 tight ends make, but I think he is capable of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's too far of a stretch at all. I think Dallas Goedert has steadily improved over his NFL career, and he's in one of the NFL's best offenses, and we've talked about it multiple times. If you're in a good offense, you're probably going to score some points in fantasy.
All right,
So Dallas Goedert could be that guy.
I found a tight end.
Okay. Big Greg Dulcich podcast. We love that guy.
He's currently at 14. I could see him finishing 6, 7, 8.
Okay. So if we're looking at, that range. Do you have him above a guy like Kyle Pitts or Pat Freiermuth?
I could see him finishing above Kyle Pitts. Not to knock Kyle Pitts, but to knock that offense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Kyle Pitts would have been he would have exploded onto the scene if he would have went anywhere else besides Atlanta.
Yeah, it was a bad spot for him. I mean, coming out of the draft, Kyle Pitts was supposed to be the next guy at tight end. I mean, immediately was drawing like Darren Waller comparisons when Darren Waller was at the peak of his game. I mean, he's built like a wide receiver who plays tight end.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, he still performed great, just not as good as the expectations were. I mean,
Right.
He's still a very solid option in fantasy, very solid option in real football too, but it's just not the kind of explosiveness and kind of burst onto the scene that people were expecting.
Right. I mean, Dulcich that high doesn't bother me. I wouldn't take him that high personally.
I'm telling you, that offense in Denver is going to be different.
I hope so. I hope for Denver's sake. I hope for Cortland Sutton's sake, because I've had him 2 years in a row and he lets me down every year. Which means I'll probably end up with him again. Because I'm going to be looking at him in the 7th round and I'm going to be like, why is Cortland Sutton not off the board? He's got to be off the board by now. Let me just take him and risk it again, and then he's going to finish 34. But so my hot take for the tight end position, I'm going to stick on rookies. I've been talking about rookies a lot, and I'm going to keep doing it. I think this season we will see 2 rookie tight ends finish in the top 14.
Top 14. 2 of them?
2 of them. So right now the highest rated rookie tight end is Dalton Kincaid at 29. Second being Sam Laporta at 30.
And right
Michael
behind
Mayer
him at
31. So those 3 guys are right. 29, 30, 31 on this site. I think for me, Dalton Kincaid and Sam Laporta will finish in the top 15. I think Dalton Kincaid has top 10 potential. I know they already have Dawson Knox over there. So Dawson Knox might take away some red zone threat from Dalton Kincaid as far as like touchdowns go. But Kincaid last season at Utah had over 800 receiving yards and over 10 touchdowns. I think he could replicate those yards. I don't know about touchdowns in the NFL for Dalton Kincaid, but I've compared him to Zach Ertz over and over and over again, and I think he can do that in year 1 in a Buffalo offense that has a top 5 quarterback in Josh Allen, a receiver to take some pressure off of you, and Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is a big vertical threat, so Dalton Kincaid's going to have some really good over-the-middle, down-the-seam looks that I think is going to be really, really good for him. And it's kind of been that missing spot for the Buffalo offense is that 20-20 tight end because Dawson Knox is great in the red zone, but he doesn't offer much as far as speed and agility goes over the middle of the field and the route running that you would like from a receiving tight end, whereas Dalton Kincaid kind of masters in that kind of stuff. So I have him in my top 10 tight ends. And then Sam Laporta is going to flourish in that Detroit offense. So shout out to my boy, Clown Carr. He loves Sam Laporta, and I think that is such a great fit in Detroit. I think he's going to have a fantastic year. He's going to be exactly what TJ Hawkinson was in Detroit. So I think Sam Laporta and Dalton Kincaid would both finish in the top 14 tight ends, which would make them both tight end ones in our big money league.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
What's that look for?
I don't want to jinx it, but you might want to thank me again.
Thank you again. Hello. I am thanking him for the Cubs currently beating the Rays 1-0. They beat the Rays last night 1-0 after Marcus Stroman had the best game of his career.
Yeah. Let me go pull up the stats again. But he shut him out. He pitched the whole game, 9 innings. 9 innings, only gave up 1 hit, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts.
I mean, you can't ask for anything more out of a pitcher against the best team in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to talk about MLB too much, but Cubs are starting to get back on the right track. They started off great and kind of slumped a little bit. But thank God for our pitching because they kept us in this thing, kept us from losing every game early in the season. And they were kind of the one thing that I was doubting this year, and they're showing up.
My team's really inconsistent. We're over 500 in the Red Sox, but we'll see where the season takes us.
Yeah,
I'm not too worried.
It's not a lot of baseball to play.
Yeah, not big expectations going in, so not big expectations right now. There's a lot of sports going on. There's a lot of fun going on. Once the finals are over, though, we'll kind of hit that spot where baseball is really all we got going. Yeah. So it's going to be a good time for you and Clown Carr to be
great time
sharing this space on Off the Dome in order to talk about it. Anything else you want to cover before we head on out of here?
I think that's it.
I think
looking forward to fantasy football this year.
Yeah, dude, fantasy football is going to be fun. I'm ready for the draft at the shed.
I've been doing so many mock drafts at work.
Oh, yeah. Way too early.
Too early.
Yeah, man, this has been fun. I'm really going to miss this for 2 months. It's going to be a long time. It's going to feel like even longer.
Yeah.
That maybe I won't be able to do this.
When you're down here for a few days.
Possible. Very possible. Hopefully so. Maybe on that Tuesday. I'll be home for 3 days in the beginning of July, so hopefully I can pop on one of those days. But for the time being, it'll be you and Clown Car chopping it up.
And Rebo Hustle.
Rebo Hustle will make his way on quite a few episodes, hopefully, with what he's got going on at work. So it has been fun. It has been a long and enjoyable ride. And don't forget, you can always go back and watch us on YouTube or Twitch. YouTube, Off the Dome Sports Podcast. Twitch, OTD Sports. Also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, _Dome Pod on Twitter. Facebook, Off the Dome Sports Podcast. And as always, check out the No. The No Network has been absolutely booming recently. We've seen a lot of cool people. We've gotten to talk to a lot of cool people, and really made some connections that we wouldn't be able to make without those guys over at the No. So make sure to check them out. That's KNEAUX, the only way to spell it. The No on Facebook. Follow them on Twitter. And once again, shout out to the people who were eligible for the giveaway. Ended up going to Jonathan, Living Lambeau. Lambeau, of course, spelled LAMBEAUX. He's got a Twitter and a Facebook, so check him out as well. As for the future, as you know, Clown Car will be sitting here with Mustang, so keep on checking them out. Keep on following us on social media to keep up with the podcast, and as always, go back and watch us. I am Redfish.
And I'm Mustang.
And I will see you next time.